They killed, give me Isaiah 14 and 21. They did the same thing to my people. So that you said that they put millions of my actions. Should a murderer go to jail for murdering? Absolutely. Should a thief go to jail when he steals? Absolutely. Should a robber pay back the money he robbed? Absolutely. So why shouldn't the white man pay for what he did? That's right. That's right. One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
I'm in a hell of a hole, was never expected to grow. Just obstacles set in the road, that a result of me selling my soul. The story I'm telling is cold, but yet it's what everyone knows. The white man's the devil is known. America was never a home, only a place of captivity, safe facility, hating, disfigure me. They claim that I'm lazy, be killing me. Maybe this slavery draining my energy. 400 years and counting, the trail of my tears is countless. The fact that I'm here is astounding, but I can't wait till this shit is surrounded. Ready to tangle my king and the angel, be ready to rap. Cracking the sky, nuclear missiles will make it official. I'm capturing every cracker surviving. Put them all in chains where they need to be, slavery for me. And let the whole world see that with them in the cage and safer in the streets. Put the dog on a leash, get resolved for the beast. 144, get the ruler show, we could all be at peace. As soon as the trumpets are sound, your kingdom we busting it down. The only way justice is found, the time for your judgment is now. You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. 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 Look, ain't no remorse in my blood, Slim. It won't be no compromise. Now it's time to feed the worms. Watch his body turn to flies. I clutch iron while you trust the lies. The next Glock I back gonna be Gen 5. I get it customized. And sending shots off like farewell. Praying payback come back around like a carousel. Still remember your Honda's words ringing in my head like bells. Said you in this body, you fit the Lord, fuck the cartel. Triangle choke, apply pressure to the game like I did Vondale. Payback's a bitch in a dress, she a bombshell. Revenge is dish served cold, I just hope they make an oxtail. Glock fresh out the box, I swear it got that new car smell. Made myself a target in the world of mad shooters. That was designed fire for our babies to pass through it. And the day of our king's reign, I'll be overzealous. They bought my jealous, I bought brand new parabellums. One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog. Payback is a dog. It's a dog.
In a Today is Cinco de Mayo. And if you are European American, you are not allowed to celebrate this year. I don't want to see none of y'all eating tacos, no margaritas. You can go ahead and put that tequila bottle back, take that damn cowboy hat off, and the boots too. Don't eat none of that good street corn, the elote. You get none of that. Yeah, see, you don't get to appropriate my brother's culture and then hate them at the same time. Yeah, you don't get to do that. The Hispanics are my brothers, and you don't get to hate them and appropriate their culture at the same time. So, yeah. None of that for you. No more Taco Tuesdays. You can scratch that out the book. Matter of fact, make this all the time. Make this year round. Y'all don't get none of it. Nothing.
Who you choose to be when presented with something different. Be inspiring. Paint your own story of what life could be.
Back row.
You'll never see another nigga like this. Used to have that white bitch popping on the night shift. Now I'm one westward, sharper than an ice pick. On you rappers' necks, and it's feeling like some vice grips. Yeah, that's light shit. Send my bro a kite quick. Times of war, we ain't forget about you. Keep your light lit. Rappers can't see. Most of them scared to witness. Go on, close your eyes. There's one right here for the trenches. Bad bitches, natural hair or extensions. Hood niggas that'll probably grip like some dentures. Runners on them fences. 23 and 1 out. Praying that that commissary hit before it run out. Bitches on the gram, dog filter with their tongue out. Couldn't stay home because they found the dugout. Closed casket, burner in the low jacket. My co-captain, riding on these whole rappers. My hoes fabulous. Now I don't mean that derogatory, but I'm a player and there's no my women riding for me. I avoided Maury. I got 2 jits. If I can't make it through for them, then I'm useless. Sit down that roof, Chris, with a couple bosses. After the war, just to count our losses. It's not many. You see a smile on my face, but I'm not friendly. Gun on my waist, sipping white Henny. I just hope this shit go right. Living in the dark, you don't know light. Gotta got my heart with my bow tie. Waiting on the swerve in my whole life. I just hope this shit go right. Living in the dark, you don't know light. Gotta got my heart with my bow tie. Living in the swerve in my whole life. My whole life. It's so melodic. When I be dropping this ebonics, this ghetto phonics, it got me on the level supersonic. My bomb atomic, and you know where you can find me. Somewhere probably folding this paper origami. My name is pure as the Sani. My wave is like a tsunami. I went from 0 to 100, feeling like Ricky Bobby. I made a deal with the Reaper. Got a couple wives, they some keepers. Talk a lot of shit, but you can't walk a mile in my sneakers. Bitches go to Miami, come home with change features. Now she got a BBL, her ass fatter. Trying to show up all them niggas that laughed at her. Now when they see her, they only wanna fuck her. They just wanna touch her. They don't wanna cuff her. They just wanna come and kick it with her like a punter. Turned her to a runner, now it's all aboard the train. Fenty on her face, but it's not concealing the pain. It's a shame. That's why I'm in the hood like some rap snacks. I know niggas kill you and your mama for a scat pack. Dark tint, matte black, they do it for half that. Had you like 90s Missy in a fucking trash bag. I'm from Philly, we don't do bank accounts, just cash app. I spit a verse and I just watch the time slow. This that God flow, this that shit that rappers die for. This that uncut Tahoe Wall straight from Pablo Escobar. I be at the bar like Moscato. They think it's effort, but no, this that block work. Make the countermeasures, take pleasures, making an op hurt. Minus in the sky, cause every verse is a concert. My mind work at speed y'all can't fathom. Listen to the words of a champion. You can't. The streets need another anthem. I just hope this shit go right. Living in the dark, you don't know light. Gotta got my heart with my bow tie. Waiting on the swerve in my whole life. I just hope this shit go right. Living in the dark, you don't know life. Gotta got my heart with my bow tie. Living in the swerve in my whole life. My whole life.
Hey, stop training people in person to make money as a personal trainer. It's trash.
All right, this is Rude Speech, man. We got Captain Tower in the building. Yeah. Yeah, so Cap, man, let us know where you from.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all having me, man, on Rude Speech, man. I'm ready down right quick.
Don't forget it. One who West in my brain, one who West in my heart, one who West when I finish, one who West when I start. Big shine, big glow. I be gone till November, let my bitch know. I'm back by the winter, bubbling like Crisco. I need my pockets all swollen like a lymph node. Talking out the side of your neck, get you a slip throat. I stay broke, don't care if I got $1 million. Looking down on me, I put your brains on the ceiling. Fuck kicking down the door, we bout to demo the building. These fake cats all in these groups, I wonder who ya. Shoot ya off your pulpit, hallelujah. 4-pound gun youngin' down like it's a cougar. On my feet, combat boots, or is it Puma? Words spreading around about me, none of it rumor. All truth, very big facts. Very large caliber on very small cats. Compact pistols, ladders, and all that. About to throw the switch in the Nina for rapid fire. Got the 5.7 equipped with the magnifier. Boom shakalaka equipped with the rim rocker. We ain't really got beef, yeah, Ramak with a bin shot ya. The best rhymer, since Pac and Big Papa. Big llama, big juice, I'm Big Jamba. Quarter tank of gas, I ride like a big timer. No informer, no sweat, not inside of my conglomerate. Wreck like King Kong. No Asian pun me, no chink in armor. Remain calm through our pain that bring drama. Stay focused on things that bring karma. Took all pressure, applied and made diamonds. Stayed true, kept shit pure, my name honored. Paid all dues and debts and kept promise. Make sure you show respect. Pay homage that I'm one West bred, one West vetted, one West pumping through my blood. Don't forget it. One West in my brain, one West in my heart. One West when I'm finished, one West when I start. I said I've been one West bred, one West vetted, one West pumping through my blood. Don't forget it. One West in my brain, one West in my heart. One West when I'm finished, one West when I start. I'm the hottest on the market, don't make me start it. I'ma pull up in a Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I remember days was trapping out the apartment. Now one West about put me up in a starship. About to fly the friendly skies in this bitch. Spit the truth on the corners, I lie a little bit. I'm a stand-up nigga, I die before I switch. Down, no we up, I'm cool with who I with. I'ma be war the king and stay dangerous. Hold down the biz and fam, remain blameless. Now rappers drippy with styles we made famous. First with studs and spikes in any city. Designers charge a stack for shit that can't fit me. Had fringes on my coattail way before Jimmy. Funny how the general ain't even see a penny. Better show respect, get smoked like a chimney. Keep my name out your mouth, don't even think it. Send a real Smith at y'all, know Jada Pinkett. Both ball heads, my grain a $1.50. Lost my man to the game, that pain that stuck with me. Had to find a cheat code to the street though, cause the niggas getting fouled, shoot you like a free throw. Keep spitting acid like a Mino, and the nigga be the nicest with a mean flow. Try to ride my wave, you gon' need a speedboat. I'm hot like 100 degrees in a peacoat. Scarf in the sweater, I embark every letter. It's UPK, not a part, but together. Homie, I've been one West bred, one West vetted, one West pumping through my blood, don't forget it. One West in my brain, one West in my heart. One West when I'm finished, one West when I start. One West bred, one West vetted, one West pumping through my blood, don't forget it. One West in my brain, one West in my heart. One West when I'm finished, one West.
Cops killing niggas, man. Voting ain't gonna help us, man. Marching ain't gonna help us, man.
Y'all clap it up. Shalom, Israel. We're at the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. It's out of 125th Street, Harlem, New York. One West. We start under Commanding General Yana. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group. If you're not in the Isupk under Commanding General Hana, you're not in the truth. Right. With that, Shalom Yahabashim Yahshua Barakatam to all the brothers. Shalom Shema Tabashim Yahushua to all the sisters. Today's theme is Beyond Cinco de Mayo. Today, and this past weekend, mostly in America, the Americans, including ourselves, Hispanics, natives, and blacks, we're all celebrating el Cinco de Mayo without knowing what it really is about. First of all, it's not about sombreros and fake mustaches. It's not about cheap tequila. It's not about good deals at Mexican, Tex-Mex restaurants. Right. It has nothing to do with that. That also has a history, which we're going to get into, and how it became commercialized. But first, we're going to start with a brief history on what happened on Cinco de Mayo, which is not called el Cinco de Mayo in Mexico. They don't celebrate Cinco de Mayo. They celebrate La Batalla de Puebla, which was a very, in my opinion, is one of the greatest battles that has been fought in world history. But we're going to give you the details right now. Hey, put out that first article, you call. So, el Cinco de Mayo, the synopsis is it's a celebration of a victory that Mexico had over the French when the French were trying to colonize it. But we're going to get into the details right now with the article. Go ahead, you call.
This is the Pastry War, Mexican history. Pastry War, 1838 through 1839.
So it was a 1-year war, right?
Brief and minor conflict between Mexico and France, arising from the claim of a French pastry. A pastry cook living in Tacubaya near Mexico City, that some Mexican army officers had damaged his restaurant.
Okay, so this is the blame for this pastry war. This is before Cinco de Mayo. So this is so first things first, y'all know that the victor gets the spoils, right?
Right.
And the victor gets to rewrite the narrative. So whoever wins, ultimately the French did win, ultimately. So they get to rewrite history according to their accounts. You know, they can manipulate it or they can tell the truth, right? So in this instance, this beef between Mexico and France, it started because some Mexican militant officers made a mess at his bakery. How silly is that? Would you go to war? Would you sacrifice thousands and thousands of men because a bunch of I don't know if they were drunk or not, but let's say they were, because some Mexican officers were probably celebrating a different victory. They went to the pastry and made a mess. You see how ridiculous that is? The devil is in the detail.
Right.
All right. So this is the account, right? There was a baker in what was it called? Tacubaya, near Mexico City, which is the capital. And the reason why they went they started this beef was because the French were insulted that these Mexican officers made a mess at his bakery. And this started a year war. Like, this is the account. This is from Britannica, by the way. That's the source. Go ahead.
A number of foreign powers had pressed the Mexican government without success to pay for losses that some of their nationals claimed that they had suffered during several years of several civil disturbances.
So Mexico at the time, they were going through, let's say, economic struggles, right? And the French, just like many other nations, they come into our countries and they monetize off of us. They do it here in America as well. The Chinese are excellent at it. Everywhere you go, like any major city you go, especially in the East Coast and West Coast, you'll find a Chinatown. Right. In Chinatown, you'll find their buildings, their Walgreens, their McDonald's, their food markets. It's not written in English. It's in Chinese characters. Right. They own those cities. They own the real estate. They monetize off it. And then they branch off and put Chinese restaurants in our communities. And I don't know why, for some unbeknownst reason to me, we love that crap. I know I do. But we go there and buy it, and then they feed it back to their community. They don't give it back to us. So the same thing in Mexico, right? That's happening. The French went over there with their commerce, with their business, and they started monetizing of us. So we go by the bread. You know, we like conchas, semillitas, pan dulce. We like stuff like that with our coffee, right? So, you know, say like that's a huge customer margin right there. So a lot of nations do that to our people, and they know that because we don't have nothing of our own. Unfortunately, we don't get to own a lot of our enterprises and companies and whatnot without having to share with the oppressor. He always gets a cut. I'll give you an example. Chiquita Banana, that was it was a banana and fruit company from Central America. Central America is rich with fruits, all kinds of fruits, all tropical fruits. And the Americans or the oppressor, they went down there and bought them off. So I mean, like if you offer me $2 million for my industry without not being in the truth, I would have sold it to you, and you make trillions of it. You know what I mean? That's what we do. But now being in the truth, I wouldn't. I'll keep that for myself and my people. All right. So that's what they do. All right. So the devil's in the detail. Go ahead.
A number of foreign powers had pressed the Mexican government without success to pay for losses that some of their nationals claimed they had suffered under several years of civil disturbance. France decided to back up its demand for 600,000 pesos by sending a fleet to Veracruz, the principal Mexican port in the Gulf of Mexico.
See, that's important. The principal Gulf of Mexico. Why? There's other routes to get to Mexico City, but they chose the port. The port is for any country, anywhere, wherever the port is, that's where you have, that's like the center of commerce. That's where business flows. That's where you get to do trades, trade goods, trade spices, anything agriculture, anything technology, whatever it is, you got to go through their ports. So that was very strategic for the French to go to Veracruz, their main port. Just like Trump right now, Trump, before he got elected and while he in his 100 days or so, he said that he's going to take the Panama Canal. He's not asking for permission. He's going to take it, you know, whether he has to send his man there or not. Go ahead.
And if I may, and that city of Veracruz is real fundamental in the history of Mexico and with our southern kingdom brothers, right? Yeah. Because a lot of slave ports came in through Veracruz, so a lot of, how can I say, black slaves were in that city. Yeah. And there was a battle in Veracruz by a slave named Guayaba, that he won, and he established the first free town for slaves in Mexico, in Veracruz, and that's where a majority of like the Afro Mexicanos, that's where they're from.
Yeah, and that's another like I said, it's a port, and the slavery was a business too. Right. You know what I mean? That's where insurance companies, that's where they stem from. Right. All this Allstate and Geico and all that stuff. The roots started from those from that what's it called? The continental slave trade. Right. That's how it started. And a lot of them had to go through ports like Veracruz, right. The Panama. Well, then it was in the Panama Canal, but that's how it started. You're right. And since you mentioned it, at the time, the Underground Railroad was in effect as well. Right. So the Underground Railroad did not just extend from the Confederate United States to the Union, because at the same time, the Civil War in America was taking place as well. So it extended from south of the American country to the north of the American country, right? But that's the narrative that we're told. But it also extended to Mexico and Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. That's where you can find a lot of Judites in our countries. Right. You know what I mean? Because they went over there because we abolished slavery. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to Vicente Guerrero because that's later on though. Okay. Hold your horses, huh? Okay. All right. So go ahead and continue. Oh wait, Veracruz, right? The port is a center of commerce. That's where. And remember, just keep it in mind though. This all started from a baker that made a complaint to HR, and HR was like, "Get the guns, get the ships. We're gonna take over." That was the excuse, but the devil's in the detail. So the real excuse, well, it's about to tell you right now. Go ahead.
Okay. After bombing the fortress of San Juan de Ulua, situated on a reef outside the harbor, and occupying the city, April 16th, 1838, the French won a guarantee payment through the good offices of Great Britain and withdrew their fleet March 9th, 1839.
So I thought it was just the French and the Mexican. Now you got the British involved, and later on the Spanish get involved. You know what I mean? Now you got 3 oppressors against our people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because where they're suffering, they see opportunity. Where we suffer, they see opportunity. They see our thirst. They see, and we're gonna get to the scriptures too. They see our thirst. They see our calamity. They say, "Well, if we go down there and buy some property and provide jobs, pay them 3, 4. Well, I don't know about then, but now give them 20-something cents a day. They'll take it.
Right.
They don't have a choice. They see that. They understand that, and that's what they're doing. Great Britain is involved. So it's the French and Great Britain now. Go ahead.
The most important domestic result of the conflict was the further enhancement of the prestige and political influence of the dictator Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna.
We're familiar with that name here in San Antonio.
Right.
El General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. I like to call him General. He earns his merit, his shout out. He earned his merits. Yeah. Now, if y'all don't know, he was the one. We're about to get into this too. He was the one that came up here to the Alamo and fought. We'll get to those reasons in a minute. Go ahead.
Who had assumed command of the Mexican army and lost a leg in the fighting.
So he was fighting the French, lost his leg. He became a general. Go ahead.
I guess it just goes down to the Mexican-American War.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Mexican-American War between the United States and Mexico, April 1846 through February 1848, stemming from the United States annexation of Texas in 1845, and from a dispute over whether Texas ended at the Nueces River, Mexican claim, or the Rio Grande, U.S. claim.
So Texas became a result of this is a different war, Mexican-American War. So annex is the same thing as Puerto Rico is now. When Puerto Rico was annexed, shortly like after World War II, I believe, they became a territory. So now Texas is a territory, but now they're disputing who it belongs to or where does the border start. That's how Texas came about. It was a result of a conclusion that America and Mexico agreed on to decide like whether this particular property of Texas belongs to America or belongs to Mexico. That was a dispute. And that's when you started getting your Jim Bowies and Sam Houstons and all them other Yankees. They call them Yankees. We still call them Yankees to this day because they came from up north. And well, we're going to get into that. Go to the other article. Yeah, the Cinco de Mayo one. Yeah. While you do that, though, like I was saying, Cinco de Mayo is not just a celebration to go walk downtown. The other day we was at camp. You had people walking around with roses on their head. I didn't understand that because I'd never go down there for that. But now I know what it's about. So it's just it's a build up to Cinco de Mayo. because all this happened like right around the same time.
Right.
Right. So it started with the pastry war. It's called the baker making his complaint, and then the French stepped in. They saw that there was a lot of economic collapse in Mexico at the time, so they saw an opportunity to strike. You know what I mean? To make money off it, to monetize off of these people, with their intention that Napoleon III, his intention was not. He came in saying that he wanted to help build a better Mexico, like most Edomites do, right? They always tell us that it's for the better of us. But now we know here in the UPK, we know that there's always never trust thine enemies, right? Go ahead and read that.
Okay, Cinco de Mayo.
Mhm.
Cinco de Mayo, or 5th of May, is an annual celebration held on May 5th to celebrate Mexico's victory over the Second French Empire at the Battle of Puebla in 1862,
Mhm.
led by General Ignacio Zaragoza. Zaragoza died months after the battle from an illness, however, and a larger French force ultimately defeated the Mexican army at the Second Battle of Puebla and the occupied Mexico City. And the occupied Mexico City. It's like it.
Mm.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. Following the end of the American Civil War in 1865, the United States began lending money and guns to the Mexican liberals, pushing France and Mexican conservatives to the edge of defeat.
Mm.
And the opening of the French chambers in January 1866. Napoleon III announced that he would withdraw French troops from Mexico in reply to a French request for American neutrality.
Mm.
The American Secretary of State, William H. Seward, replied that French withdrawal from Mexico should be unconditional.
Right. So on May 5th, 1862, the Battle of Puebla, or La Batalla de Puebla, well, after they landed in Veracruz, they had to go through Loreto and Guadalupe. But if you know about the geography there, that area is surrounded by mountains.
Right.
So typically in war, if you have the higher ground, you're most likely going to be successful. You know, it's like now the greatest air force on the planet is the United States. You know, they have the most fighter jets, they have the most bombers. They're in orbit.
Right.
That's how I think they made it to them. I don't know about that. It's up for debate. But like if you have the higher ground, typically you have the advantage. So that's what Mexico had then. They had the hills, and they knew their land. The French didn't know quite. So in Tolera and Guadalupe, Guadalupe, they held them off for a little bit before making it to Puebla. And they eventually made it to Puebla. In Puebla, it's like a valley. So that's after the hills, and it's a valley, then more hills. So Puebla is flat, right? So they managed to get there because they were better equipped. They had longer rifles, so they could shoot further. They had bayonets on their rifles. So in close encounters, you can shoot and stab somebody. All right. Their cannons were state of the art, right? Like Mexico was using spears and machetes for close combat. It's very like barbaric, you know what I mean? So like, their weaponry was not up to date with the French. Also, I say cannons.
Right.
No, I didn't. Yeah, the artillery was far more advanced. So we were using escopetas or like muskets, like y'all know the ones where you had to put the powder in the barrel, take out like a stick to compact it, take it out, put the bullet in there, and like that takes about 3-4 minutes, for one person, and it's one round at a time, opposed to the French where they had the long rifles and cartridges, exactly, so they could shoot 3-4 at a time, so they were very much advanced. The artillery could reach further than the old cannons we were using that Americans used in the American Civil War. You know what I mean? So they were much more advanced. But so the reason why Cinco de Mayo is celebrated and is revered in Mexico differently than it is here is because in Mexico, they're not celebrating commercials. It's not commercialized. It's more of a raza thing. It's like a resilient thing. It's like, you know what I mean? Like they were a number, by the way, 6,500 to 2,300. Mexico being the 2,300, right? And France being the 6,500. They were outnumbered, they were outmatched, they were outgunned, but Mexico had that resilience to, you know what I mean? Like they have that character, and you can see it now. And I'm talking specifically to the tribe of Isupk, because I'm not Isupk, I'm Sabaluma, but I learned my work ethic from Isupk, because Isupk, you can't tell him, you don't get breaks with Isupk. You get a lunch break and you better do it fast. So you gotta get back to work. And that's the spirit. Like they get things done and they're very good at improvising. And that's what these brothers was doing then. You know what I mean? And they had another tactic that the successor of Napoleon III used. No, he failed to use. Because I don't know if y'all know this, but back then in those times in the 1800s to like about late 1800s, armies, especially from the East or from Europe, and the Americans, of course, because they're from the East too, they used to fight wars on a field, right? They'll meet up in a field, like let's say 1,000 over here, 1,000 over there, and they'll line up in companies, right? And then they'll stand there all modest and upright, right? And whoever was in charge of the company will give them the order, right? Like arm yourself, ready, shoot. You know what I mean? And they would stand there and shoot. If you miss, you miss. If you don't, you don't. And then you have to go back to load your weapon again with one bullet and go back up. So that's how the French fought. And by the way, they had spectators that, like their diplomats, the aristocrats, the presidents, whoever, they would stand on the hillside, way far up, with their binoculars and watch them kill each other. That's a silly way of fighting. But Mexico, because they're warriors, like our Native American warriors, they knew guerrilla warfare. And if you know about guerrilla warfare, that is, they learned from us. We taught them that. We taught them to, go through houses, set up a base in a house, you know what I mean? Get on rooftops, get on treetops, you know what I'm saying? Camouflage, all that. We went out there in the field like dummies. I don't know where they get that from. That's silly. That's some Esau stuff. Anyways, my bad. I got a little sidetracked. All right, so yeah, 2,000, 6,000. Okay. All right, and like I was saying, a lot of these wars, right? They have other parties behind it, including up to date. A lot of the wars we fight now, there's a bigger party behind it. I'll give you an example. Like proxy wars now that are fought between Ukraine and Russia, I'll say Russia, or conflicts between the Middle East and America. Like there's always someone behind it that is funding it. Because Ukraine cannot fund its own war. You know what I mean? The Taliban, they could not fund their own war. So in this instance that I'm using right now, it will be for obviously Russia, right, against Ukraine. Ukraine is funded by America and Israel, right? They're the ones providing them the weapons and the technology and the food and the aid, whatever, right? And back in the early 2000s, or even before then, from the 1980s to the early 2000s, it was the Taliban and Al Qaeda. They were being funded by the Russians as well to fight against Americans. You know what I mean? So it's like two bullies. You know what I mean? And if you're the little guy that's getting bullied by that bully over there, then you're gonna ask this bully, "Hey man, if I'll give you some petroleum if you provide me with some arms," and they do it. You know what I mean? Those are proxy wars. So like it's like two big powers trying to fight each other, but they don't want to annihilate each other. So they use people like us. In this instance, it would have been the Mexico and the French. You know what I mean? That's why the British stepped in, the Spanish stepped in, and with the ultimate goal, it was to even Napoleon III said that his goal was to establish a French influence in the Americas. And if you know about his successors before him, the rulers before him, like Napoleon, their plan was like world domination. And that's Esau. That's the spirit. They want to take over everything. And that's why everything they touch dies. Right. I mean, was that it on that article?
No,
Oh no, that was the okay.
It's like it goes into like the commercialized, dude.
Okay. No. Let's get some scriptures real quick.
Okay.
Give me Ecclesiastes 7:7. Since it is the 5th of May, so like let me respond. While you do that, let me respond to something real quick.
Ecclesiastes 7:7.
That's right. No, it's like go to Deuteronomy 28:16.
Okay.
My bad. I skipped ahead, so like
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 16. Cursed shall they be in, it's like a curse shall thou be in the city,
mm-hmm.
and cursed shall thou be in the field.
Right. Right. And this prophecy follows us everywhere, including to that battle in Cinco de Mayo. Like we thought we had the first encounter we had in Cinco de Mayo, right? That was the first one. We won. We were victorious, right? We thought we had it sweet. It's like we got it. You know, a lot of patriotism on our behalf came about. But the scripture said, "Cursed shall thou be in the city, and cursed shall thou be in the field." So wherever we at, like we're always gonna find. Like don't think this is sweet. We're not, like you said in your class, like you're not a rest, right?
Right.
We're not. This is not a rest. And we are, and it shows in the second battle of Puebla. Then they took over, and they managed to take over Mexico City as well. So you know what I mean? Like you win one battle don't mean that you won the war. You know what I mean? So like many of the men above me have taught me, like this battle ain't about guns and weapons and muscles. It's a spiritual war. So we gotta keep fighting and keep it moving. Before we keep moving, give me Psalms 55:21.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 55, verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
Just very much like those diplomats came from France to what was that place called? When the first shit, I got it right here. When the first pastry war, that's what it was. Like they came down here saying that they were gonna help build a better Mexico. Because at the time Mexico just got out from the Mexican Reform War, they were trying to change the political structure up, and that's when things started declining. Because now you got two Mexicans going against each other. When one, of course, is like one was liberal, the other one was conservative. The very same battle that America fights here between Republicans and Democrats. You know what I mean? It's always red and blue.
Right.
It's always red and blue. So while they were going through that struggle, through that war, their economy started to collapse. France saw that. They saw an opportunity to strike. They saw people in poverty. They saw us. They saw the sufferers, and they say, you know what? We are more efficient. Our economy is getting better. Our economy is much better than theirs. Let's show them something. Let's go there and tell them that we're going to help them. We're going to help them. That was their cause. That was their campaign, that they were going to help. But the whole time, that was not the case. The whole time, they wanted to make Mexico, they wanted to colonize it, for lack of better terms. That's what they do. They take over places. They impose their laws, just like they did to us and Judah. They did it to Judah as well. Even I'm talking about like in the Judean state when they were in our land, in the promised land. You know what I mean? They went in there with promises of that they were going to help and better it, and you know what happened? They started persecuting them and they fled to Africa. That's a different story. Go ahead and start it again.
The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart.
But war was in his heart. Never trust on enemies. There's as funny as they might seem, bro. I'll give you an example, right? A lot of us here have slaveries or jobs, right? They manage to tell you, you know what? Sure, like you do this for me, I don't give you a raise, right? And they'll go through with it. That's happened to me. Like you do this and this for me, in 3 months, I'll give you a raise. $2 raise, right? That sounds good, right? Okay, they give you that $2 raise, right? And then you go from 40 hours to 28. Where's the raise?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how they are, bro. They're very smooth with their words. Very smooth to us. I don't know if they do it to the people. I haven't witnessed it. But that's what they do. All right, so we finished with that.
Nah, there's more to the script.
Oh, go ahead.
His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords.
Right. All right, so it's just emphasizing what it said at the beginning. You know what I mean, like it looks sweet. It looks nice. Very much like it looked at Fiesta. I mean, what's it called? The Desfile de Rosas, the Rose Festival, the Rose Festival this weekend, right? It looks good and innocent. You know what I mean? It looks like a fun time. Everybody was all colorful and cheerful and walking up and down the streets, beers and alcohol in their hands, you know. But I guarantee you, and I haven't looked it up, but I guarantee you that same night, a lot of our people got arrested. I guarantee you that night, there were dozens and dozens of law enforcement waiting to catch one of us just swerving a little bit. Right. Whoop, whoop. You know what I'm saying? Now you going to jail. And if you're Hispanic, you might get more than that. You might be going to El Salvador or to Guantanamo Bay. Trump is not playing with that stuff. You know, I have no idea. I do have an idea more or less, but Trump is sending immigrants that are temporary residents that are allowed to work here, right? But if you have a record, he's sending you to whatever he wants to send you. You don't necessarily have to go to the country of your origin. Right now, he's sending a lot of our people, whether you're to El Salvador. If you know about El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, he has like a mega prison, state-of-the-art mega prison. Okay, it's huge, and that's like, and he doesn't discriminate at all. Like, if you have a tattoo, you're going to jail. That's how he acts. That's how he moves. And by the way, he's Palestinian. He ain't one of ours. And he works for Trump. So Trump is sending, you could be Cuban, you could be Colombian, you could be Mexican. You can get sent over there or some BS here. Go ahead, sis. You don't got your mic?
Slakia, sir. Trump passed a new law to where he can deport like citizens.
Yeah.
So, I think it's just like a tactic to, he could be in cahoots with whoever the other country, that he's sending our people to.
Yeah.
Just as like, slaves.
Yeah. And I'm gonna get to you, brother. And that sounds, I like history, and from what I'm seeing, I got you, little bro. I got you. Hold on. From what I'm seeing, right, this happened in Germany. This happened in Germany, where they started deporting those so-called Jews, the Jewish, by the way. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? The so-called Jewish, they started deporting them to concentration camps outside in Germany and outside of Germany. The concentration camps were not just in Germany. And Hitler started sending them out there. And this is what Trump is doing. He's sending our people to other concentration camps. Another one is Guantanamo Bay. A few months ago, he was sending our people to them places. That place was reserved for terrorists. That's what it was for. And now he's sending undocumented immigrants, and like you said, legal immigrants as well, that might have a record or have a record. You know what I mean? He's sending them there too. That sounds very, very Naziist to me. You know what I mean? What's up, little bro?
Like World War II was dangerous and the most destructive one in the world, but I don't know if World War IV is gonna be like instructive. World War III.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be World War III.
Okay. Yeah. So you're right. World War II was very destructive. There were a lot of countries involved, and for a lot of political and even religious reasons, which is, in my opinion, that's a silly war to fight. There's much bigger things to fight for that are more honorable than that. But definitely, World War III. Just to back you up a little bit, World War III is we'll let Christ deal with that. Christ he's gonna handle World War III. He's gonna, when it starts, he's gonna end it. Okay? And you'll know, you most like, well, I hope we're alive to see it. But you'll know when it happens. Was that it on that, Nicole? Okay. All right. So that was in the detail. And just quick mentions, because we were talking about how all these countries, they involved behind, like the wars we fight, just very much like they did in Cinco de Mayo. The French, the British, and the Spanish was involved. The British and the French had no business in this. It was between France and Mexico. But they wanted a piece of that pie too. You know what I mean? So they started backing up France. And they do that all over. It wasn't just Mexico. They did it to Cuba with Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. They did it to Venezuela with Hugo Chavez. They even do it in some African countries. They're starting to do it now. There was a man from Africa, young man. He one of his bodyguards got hired for something $1 million to kill him by Americans, to unalive him. It's like to unalive him by Americans, right? And he took the deal. He took the cash. He took the money, but he was such a loyal soldier with his commander that he went back to his commander and he sat down with him in his office and he put the cash on the table. He's like, look, this is how much they paid me to kill you right now. And these are the people involved. He gave our names. He gave our agencies. You know what I mean? So this is what they do. You know what I mean? It's called a state of coup, something like that. But go ahead. What you gonna say?
It's like, if I may,
Go ahead.
it's like how you say the French got involved and the Spanish also. British too. British and the Spanish.
Right.
Well, the reason why, the Spanish got involved because Mexico quit paying repercussions to Spain.
Right.
So they felt they were shorted
Mm-hmm.
because I think it was Benito Juarez stopped
Mhm.
all that, right?
The Civil
He
War.
stopped all that, and that's the reason why, because they still wanted their get back.
Mm-hmm.
They still wanted to get back, so they basically, like you said, a proxy war.
Right.
That's what they did, and it's just like today, the Mexican people do not run Mexico. No, like the president of Mexico today is a so-called Jewish person, a
That's
small
correct.
hat, just like many presidents before her, they were actually criollos, which means Spanish origins, but they were born in Mexico.
Yeah.
But they're the descendants from like the conquistadors.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just they never want to take their rule off of us.
Yeah.
It just they make it look like we have some sort of how can I say some sort of leeway, but we don't. We
Right.
don't. We're still a slave.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, even now, a lot of our leaders they have Spanish descent. Like you mentioned the president of Mexico, Claudia. I don't know how to say her last name. Yeah, but Claudia, I call her Claudia. She ain't no president of mine. So, yeah, she is Jewish. She goes back to Jewish. I don't know if she practices their religion, but let's be honest, bro. Like Jewish people have a strong influence on this planet. So naturally, I'm gonna assume that she has like some sort of agenda. There's got to be something there. You know what I mean? Like she legalized alternative lifestyle in Mexico. You know, our people we never been down with that. You know what I mean? I remember, without to get into details, some people where I grew up in Honduras, some people weren't alive for doing that stuff. I mean, you could hear it in the alleys, and you could hear it when the village will go and do that stuff. So we never agreed with that. And now you got, the biggest figure, this woman, this Jewish woman running our people, in charge of our people, and she legalized that kind of living. Like what else is to come? You know what I mean? So abortion next. You know what I mean? It's legalization of drugs next. I mean, anyways, yeah, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of them. Like I was saying, the proxy wars. Nayib Bukele is another one. The president of El Salvador, he's Palestinian. Hugo Chavez is another one. They went against him not because of communism. That's what they blamed it on. They went against him because he wasn't trying to give up that petroleum. So they demonized him. Maduro is another one. He's actually wicked. I ain't gonna lie to you. Anyways, so long story short, they were outnumbered. in the Cinco de Mayo, but in Mexico, it's not. We don't celebrate roses and petals, and the king of the flowers and the queen of the flowers, and you know what I mean. They're not celebrating that. They're just celebrating. They're celebrating the, like I said earlier, the resilience and the bravery, the courage that these men had. And by the way, a lot of them were not like trained soldiers. You know what I mean? Like these were farmers, doctors, teachers. You know what I mean? Like cooks, bakers. You know what I mean? Well, they took arms, you know, for their people. You know what I mean? Because we know whenever we see those pale faces, like the Native Americans call them, like it's bad news. They're not here for good. They ain't here to do that. Never trust that enemy. I can't express that enough. You know what I mean? I mean, even now, like you know, like the scriptures say it. It's so perfect that the scriptures tell us and warns us about this. Like the words are smooth as butter. I mean, softer than oil. That's how they talk to you. You know, that's how they beguile you. That's called persuasion. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? We fall into it. It's like that enchantment with we're gonna get to the gift of hearts here in a minute. But it's like that, like, you know what I'm saying? We celebrating and parading and watching these people on their floats and in their fire trucks and, you know, dressed in old war and their attire that they wore back then, masquerading. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like, look, this is so nice. This is so good that we forget that it wasn't like that 100 and some years ago, 200 years ago when this war was fought. It had nothing to do with that. When nobody walking up and down the street smiling and cheesing and goofing and drinking, they was out there unaliving each other. They was fighting. We was fighting to protect our people. They was fighting to take over our people. You know what I mean? But that's not what I saw this weekend at that festival. You know, it's kind of sad and it's frustrating at the same time. So okay, so Fiesta led to the Alamo and Cinco de Mayo, right? Because it's in May. So the annual Fiesta leads to Cinco de Mayo, right? But we can't end this is just the history part of it, right? We can't end it without talking about Vicente Guerrero. Because Vicente Guerrero, he was the second president of Mexico. And he had roots, he had Judite roots and native roots. I believe his father was a Judite. His father was a Judite. They went through the Underground Railroad, and somehow his family ended up in Mexico. So to say that was our first black president. Go ahead.
His father was a descendant of the slaves that were brought to Mexico.
Right, from here, right?
Oh, from the Spaniards when they brought slaves from the Dutch and all them. The Spaniards got
Also
slaves
from
from
Europe.
Africa also, from the west coast of Africa. So Vicente Guerrero's father was from that lineage, and
okay,
he had married an indigenous Iscarite, and she actually had like ties to the Aztec roots. So whenever he got into power, they ultimately made sure that he didn't stay in power. You know what I mean? And
yeah, we're gonna get to that. Yeah, but real quick about you're absolutely right. Damn, I missed that part. I thought he came from the Americas.
No,
all right, to what? So on the topic of Fiesta, though, right? So Fiesta leads to the Alamo, right? And real quick, just brief history on the Alamo. The Alamo was fought, obviously, here in San Antonio now. And it was fought, it was Mexicanos. Yeah, I remember that I told you about Texas being annexed, right? That it became like a dual territory between Mexico and America. They didn't know who's going to belong to. So they kind of became like a neutral state. So what the Yankees did, they started coming down here illegally. They ain't show no paperwork. They just started coming to this land, farming the land, taking over the property, the real estate, right? Those are illegal immigrants, right? Like we come here, sure, we come undocumented, but we come here to work. They came over there and just started taking over. It's a difference. So we come to work, we put in our work, we do pay our taxes, we pay billions in taxes. All right. They wasn't doing none of that. So they came down here, right? And the first thing they did, because these oppressors, they dared to call us lazy. They're extremely lazy then. Because they came over and took over a lot of property, but they brought slaves with them. And this is going to lead us to Vicente Guerrero. They brought slaves with them from up north and from the Confederate states. They brought them down here, and at that time, Vicente Guerrero had already abolished slavery in Mexico. Because then there were still Spanish living in Mexico. And the Spanish, they were allowed to own slaves. So what they did was very similar to what Americans did. They did something called indentured servitude. Y'all familiar with that? You know what that is? Use your mic. Go ahead. Y'all know what indentured servitude?
So like, indentured servitude is when, like, if you owe like a debt to someone, that you'll go into like you being their servant for an amount of years until you pay off that debt, and then you're set free. That's indentured servitude. That's different from chattel slavery. Chattel slavery is you go into slavery forever.
Right.
You're considered cattle. You're considered a piece of farming equipment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, more or less. Yeah. So, Sis, you want to say something?
Is there a slavery where if someone went against the government, then they'll have to work for the government because they went against them, whoever was ruling over them?
You talking about indentured servitude? What?
No.
Come again? I understand you.
It's another name for it, but
No. What?
I think she's talking about a POW, or like a prisoner of war, or a political prisoner of war.
That's not it? Okay. Well, you figure it out, let me know. But so indentured servitude, right? When Americans did it after the Emancipation Proclamation, Americans did this where slaves were allowed to be free, right? And by the way, real quick, just a notable mention, the American Civil War was not fought over slavery. It wasn't about the North fighting against slavery or the South. It had nothing to do with that. That's a different history class. Okay. So indentured servitude is after the Emancipation Proclamation, slavery became abolished. And the master told the slaves, man, y'all can leave. Y'all get out of here. Where were they going to go? They had nowhere to go. So the master, in return, they would let them live on the property and continue doing the work, minus the cruelty. But they still had to work it. And they got food in return. They got a shelter in return. That was it. And then you did enough. You gather your bread up. And then you can go out and create your own. And then that leads us into the early 1920s, 30s, 40s, when Black America used to thrive. And, you know, they had their own Wall Street and their own cities, and they had their own hospitals. We had our own hospitals and our own schools, universities, and all that. And in the 60s, You already know that history. MLK came around and he ruined it for all of us. Anyways, so that's what indentured servitude is. So in Mexico, it was the same thing. At that time, it was abolished, but a lot of Spaniards still stayed. You know, the presidents and the powers that were so from the Mexican side, they didn't exile them. They let them stay there. And they kept their slaves. But now then not slaves because it was abolished. They had to do the same thing that slaves in America did, indentured servitude. So that's what happened with that. So that led into, so that fiesta led into Cinco de Mayo. And let's get the article on Vicente Guerrero before we go into scriptures. The third one.
I got you. Vicente Ramon Guerrero Saldaña.
Mm-hmm.
He was born August 10th, 1782, and died February 14th, 1831. Was a Mexican military officer from 1810 to 1821.
11 years.
And a statesman who became the nation's second president in 1829.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
He was one of the leading generals who fought against against Spain during the Mexican War of Independence.
Yeah.
According to historian Theodore G. Vincent, Vicente Guerrero lived alongside indigenous in Tlatelolco, and had the ability to speak Spanish and the languages of the indigenous.
So naturally, he was an ambassador. He wasn't just a general or soldier. He was out there in the mix. You know what I mean? He was out there with the people, with the offsprings, not the Spanish, but he was out there with people that spoke Spanish and people that spoke our ancient language, right? And we know a little bit about our ancient language. It's very similar to the ancient Hebrew. Right. So he was out there with them. Like he wasn't around those Edomite political figures that would influence him easily.
The criollos.
The criollos, correct. He wasn't around it. He was amongst the people. He was, you know what I'm saying? He fought in the independence. I see that says a lot. And he became a general. Later, the president, the second president. And go down to presidency. You see the tab? Right. Yeah. Start off at liberal folk. And he played an important role. You know, there's like you're saying earlier, Veracruz. There's a lot of Judites over there. That was like we'll call it a haven. That's where they would go, and you know what I mean. A lot of them look like they look like Judites. You know what I mean? And anyway, go ahead and start that.
Okay, a liberal folk hero of the independence insurgency, Guerrero became president on April 1st, 1829, with conservative Anastasio Bustamante as his vice president. For some of Guerrero's supporters, a visibly mixed race man from Mexico, periphery. That's like I can't say that word. Becoming president of Mexico was a step toward what one 1829 philanthropist called the reconquest of this land by its legitimate owners, and called Guerrero that immortal hero, favorite son of Nezahualcóyotl,
right?
The famous ruler of prehistoric Texcoco. Some Creole elites, American-born whites of Spanish heritage, the criollos,
right,
were alarmed by Guerrero as president, were alarmed as Guerrero as president, a group that liberal Lorenzo de Zavala disparagingly called the new Mexican aristocracy.
Right. Hold on. So they're calling him the immortal hero, right? And his objective was the conquest of this land by its legitimate owners.
Right.
So he believed in nationalism. Right. Y'all know what nationalism is, right? Y'all know what nationalism is when the people that when your country belongs to the people, not the opposite, where the country belongs to the whoever's in power. So he was like that. He was a nationalist. He knew he wanted Mexico to be the people's land, not the Spanish or the European or the French. All right. And then it says some Creole elites, like some Creole elites. So that means like the Spanish aristocrats, the Edomite aristocrats that lived there. It says American-born whites of Spanish heritage were alarmed by Guerrero's president. This sounds familiar. This sounds like Fidel. When Fidel took over Cuba, Americans were shook because he started sending anybody that was not a Cuban national, that were not of Cuban descent, that were not Cuban at all. If you went out as people, you're going back to America. Fidel started deporting whites and Jewish because they were there too, and Italian mobsters and Spaniards. He was getting anybody that wasn't Cuban out of his land, very much like Guerrero did. And even Fidel in his text, he tells you that he learned from him. Right? So he's a very important figure. That's why I wanted to mention him. Vicente Guerrero, he was about it. All right, go ahead. Continue to the next paragraph.
Guerrero set about creating a cabinet of liberals, but his government already encountered serious problems, including its very legitimacy, since President-elect Gomez Pedraza had resigned under pressure. Some traditional Federalist leaders who might have supported Guerrero did not do so.
Slaga. I skipped to the next paragraph because I didn't know what time it was. We got to get some scriptures too.
A key achievement of his presidency was the abolition of abolition of slavery in most of Mexico. The slave trade had already been banned by the Spanish authorities in 1818, a ban that had been reconfirmed by the nascent Mexican government in 1824.
Stop. That's good on that. We're gonna go to scriptures. Give me Deuteronomy 27:1. But on this particular sentence of this paragraph, he's talking about how Vicente Guerrero abolished slavery. But before then, the Spanish had already abolished it. So why we had to abolish it again? You know what I mean?
Salaki, if I may.
Go ahead.
It's because the criollos didn't want to give up their slaves.
Exactly. That's why. It's smooth as butter.
Salaki, if I may.
Go ahead.
They were actually worried about him turning Mexico upright. Or to them it was going to be upside down because they were going to be out of power. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they were worried that he was going to give the land back to the indigenous Mexicans and free all the slaves, which he was really trying to do that.
Yeah.
That was his goal.
Yeah.
And they were worried that they were going to lose power. And that's why later on in the article they assassinated him.
Yeah. And let me get that scripture, Deuteronomy 27:1. While you look that up, though, that is why Esau, the Edomites, the oppressors, they hate us and fear us so much because they know they're guilty. They know that they're wrong. And they know that if we were to ever unite under this body here in the UK, under Commander General Hanna, under Christ, under the Most High, and we learn this scripture in our history, in our identity in the scriptures, and we come together, they know that they're in trouble.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
All right. Go ahead.
So what was the scripture again?
Deuteronomy 27:1. We're gonna breeze through these, right?
Okay.
Not quite, but
Okay. This is book of Deuteronomy 27:1. And Moses with the elders of Israel commanded the people, saying, keep all the commandments which I command you this day.
Right. And go to 28:1. So he gathered all of Hispanics, blacks, and Native Americans and told them, keep all these commandments, right? Keep all of them, Hispanics, black, Native Americans. Because there are consequences. One of the consequences is us getting conquered, right? That is a consequence. That was a promise that it was going to happen if we didn't follow these laws, statutes, and commandments. Very much like they came from, well, we'll get to that scripture. Go ahead and read 28:1.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if any thou shalt hearken, it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
Right. Is that not enough? Like the Bible hasn't lied to us so far. It won't lie to us, but definitely the Most High won't lie to us. He ain't about that confusion. You know, he ain't the author of confusion. He says right now, you do this, you're gonna be set above high, right? That's what he's telling us. Go ahead and skip to 15. Same chapter, 15.
I got you. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Yeah, we just went over that in the first verse, just emphasizing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like it's repeating the same thing. It's just so you get it, like it's, you know, reassurance. You know what I mean? And that's how the whole Bible is about. It's the same message, you know, but in a different instance. For example, in this instance, we're using Cinco de Mayo, right? This is what happened. This is why, like, this was a consequence of our disobedience. And that scripture is coming up next real soon, where it says, well, we'll get to it. We're at verse 16, skip to 32. We're going to start getting closer to the meat.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
Stop. So thy sons and thy daughters should be given to another people. During the French-Mexican War, any POWs, any prisoners of war that were captured by the French were shipped to France. For what reason? Go ahead. There's a reason why. Like, if you have a prisoner of war, what would you do with your prisoner of war?
If I may.
Go ahead.
If you had a prisoner of war, they'd become your slave.
Exactly. So read that again?
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand.
Yeah, there was nothing we could do. And I want to include the daughters as well, because at the time in Mexico, at this time, in this particular time, there were also women fighting. Not in the sense of like going in the field, you know what I mean, going head to head, but they were out there, you know, providing food and water and being medics. A lot of the women, even now, they do that. Women in the military are medics. You know what I'm saying? They were tending the sick and whatnot, right? That's still being in the battlefield. But if they got caught, they went over there too. And prisoners of war, if you don't torture them for information, then you turn them into slaves. So now they're slaving over there in their farms and their plantations, you know, because they got fertile land too. You know what I mean? All right. So that's, and like, this is a consequence of us not following the law, statutes, and commandments.
Right.
You know, and even low key, like in our regular day-to-day lives, we see that. You know, sometimes I go through a tough day and I think, it's just a bad day. Whatever. Nah, man, it's something I did that caused this. You know what I mean? So it's not light. It's not a light thing. Like if you have, you know what I mean? Like, don't, of course, don't stress it, but just remember, like I've noticed that the more progress I make in doing right, like somehow it becomes easier. It really does. It's a lot off of my shoulders. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? And I love it. Anyways, let's go to almost done here. 48. Did y'all ever find out what Joe was talking about? No? All right. That's great. That's straight.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness.
Yeah, and everything we do here, and everything we do in our own countries, right? And everything we do, we have to depend on the oppressor. Right. I'm saying, like even in the school, we have to depend on those. Yesterday, we went over this. We have to depend on those counselors, on those permits. You know what I'm saying? And our neighbor next door, possibly, you know, okay. So we have to, you know, like, and you caught me off guard. We have to depend on our oppressors for everything. I mean, if we're hungry, we have to depend on them. Say we're thirsty, we gotta depend on them. We gotta go to the stores. We can't. There's no store who call Officer Jakalia's corner store. You know what I mean? We gotta go to Cinco, which is owned by Exxon or Shell, whatever. You know what I mean? Or by Eras. Like we have to depend on them rather than us. You know what I mean? Come again? Exactly. Yeah. Our condition is everything. Like we depend on them. And I'll go ahead. Go ahead.
And in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
All right. So this is physically and spiritually. So because they did put yokes around our necks. Natives, blacks, Hispanics, they did put that iron yoke around our neck. You know what I mean? To keep us in file, to keep us from running away. They did do that physically. Spiritually, they put that they press that thumb on us. You know what I mean? So it's like give you enough leeway to make enough so that you can what's today, the third? No, the fifth? All right. So like on the first, give me 60-70% of what you made last month to pay for this month so you can continue. I mean, the rest, the 30%, keep it to yourself, I guess. You know what I mean? Go ahead, sis. What's up, little bro?
For the ones that you love, you have to suffer for them. Or you have to suffer.
Yeah, that's correct. Because love is not about hugs and kisses. You know, love is war.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? My brothers love me. My brothers and my sisters here in the school, they love me. And there's things that I want to do, and they make me suffer to not do them.
But
anytime I want to do those things that I want to do, and they're not proper, and the Most High doesn't agree, they come down on me. No, you're not doing that. You know, and I get upset for a little bit, but that's how I know they love me, because they won't let me go astray. You know, you have to. There's no here in the school. You cannot go to the left or the right.
Yeah,
you got to go straight. Okay, that's what love is.
When it's war, then like, and if we go in war, that's a test. If we're actually
right.
fair, so
yeah, that's a test of your endurance, of your resilience, of how strong you are. You know,
But if
The Most High wants people that go through war. He wants the meek. He wants people that are that struggle a lot to overcome that, because he wants like real men, real warriors.
Yeah, like God's gonna come back and like get the ones that even for his reason, like his reason he's going to have to kill. Thank you, man. His mom.
That's correct. That's correct. Give him a hand. You know what he's talking about. Sorry. Yeah, we said it was heavy. Yeah. Right. Go ahead and go to 49.
Verse 49, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, to the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
Look, I love the Animal Planet, Discovery Channel, all that stuff, right? Eagles are dangerous. They're huge, they're dangerous, they're crafty, they're cunning, they're hunters, very dangerous. And just because there's a symbol of America, that makes it more dangerous. So as swift, like as fast as an eagle comes, that's how fast these other nations are going to invade our lands. You know, it didn't take long. It took a baker complaining to start a war. That's all they needed. And they sent a fleet over that. That was the pretense, right? That was the excuse. Now we know that there's more to it. That's what the class is called, what it's called. Right. There's more to it. But that's all it takes. You know what I mean? The devil's in the detail. Go ahead.
From the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
We didn't understand Spanish. We didn't understand English. We didn't understand French, Portuguese, or whatever Africans speak. We didn't understand none of that. No, we knew our languages. We knew the ancient Hebrew, and we knew what now we've come to learn, that our people spoke dialects of Hebrew.
Right.
You know, it was Hebrew, but it was just dialects. It's like I'll give you an example, right? Puerto Rican, Boricuas, it's like the tribe of Ephraim, right? They'll say "que pasó," right? Or a Mexican would be like "que pasa," right. You know what I mean? The same language, different dialects. Right. We was talking Hebrew. That's why they found the most ancient artifacts in Hebrew were found here in North America, right. In Arizona, right? Where was it?
New Mexico.
In New Mexico. Right. Right. So I mean, we've always spoken like it's just different dialects. We understand each other. That's why Columbus had it. He didn't know what the hell we was talking about, so he had to find an interpreter that spoke a dialect of Hebrew. And when they came down here, he told his translator, "You come here, tell me what he's saying," because he didn't understand him, but they understood each other.
Right. And if I may, Salakia,
Go ahead.
They found the Back Creek stones. I forget what state that was, somewhere up north on the East Coast. And then they found some stones that were kept by the Taínos chiefs in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Yeah, they found some stones that they had amongst the chiefs there in a village in Puerto Rico that they had Hebrew carvings in them. Word.
And you gotta show me that. That's new. You said in Boricua?
In Puerto the I believe it was a Taíno chief that kept it throughout in that village throughout the
like an heirloom kind of thing.
Yeah, the heirloom, right?
Yeah.
And
That's
they actually
dope.
they put them in the museum, and I actually think I think they may have took them to Israel.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they may have took those.
They
stones
would
to
do
Israel.
something wicked like that.
Right.
That's
They know who we are.
Absolutely.
They know who we are.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of that, Christopher Columbus, he knew he wasn't trying to find no um, voyage to India, a new route to India. He says it in his diaries. Y'all gotta read it. It's two diaries. If you read his diaries, he tells you that he got funded by the Portuguese and then Spain for a voyage, and the objective was to go find the lost sheep of the children of Israel. That was his objective. But the campaign was to find a better route to India. That's why he came here. He called them Indians. Native Americans never called themselves Indians or Mayans or Aztecs, none of that. Those are names that he gave us. But he knew what he was doing. He knew who he was coming for. You know what I mean? Like it says, the devil's in the detail. I can't express that enough, man. You gotta read between the lines. You know what I mean? It was good, bro.
The only thing that
It's on.
the thing, if somebody wants money, they should want the commandments, because like he sacrificed himself so we could be here. So we should follow his commandments. Yeah, it's just that.
That's heavy, little brother. That's right. We should follow the commandments.
That's right. All right, let's get off there. All right, go ahead and read 50.
Come, carnal. Verse 15. A nation of fierce countenance.
Fierce consonants. That sounds like the French, right?
Right.
They were fierce consonants. They came there with their top of the line technology against. So it was brass and iron fighting against sticks and stones, basically. But the Mexican spirit was resilient and triumphant in that particular battle. So a nation of fair consonants, what?
Which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
They didn't care who you was. Even with our Native American brothers, even with our Judite brothers, they didn't care if you was old. They didn't care if you was young. They didn't care about your status in your community. They didn't care about your what's it called? I forgot the word, but they didn't care about your gender. They didn't care if you were male or female. They didn't care. Like nobody was safe when these devils came here. Not even exactly. Y'all know the history about it. The Judites, they oh Lord, they were used as bait. You know what I mean? They were used as games, as game. You know what I mean? They were bashed and rocks. They were, you know what I mean? Like their spirit. They have a wicked, evil spirit. But like Officer Kabar was telling me earlier this week, we cannot be like them. We need to be better than them. But definitely don't forget. You know, I don't know. This might be some Edomite oppressor saying, well, like you know, I say forgive and forget. No, don't forget. Don't forget that. Man, that was good, little bro. You forgot. All right. Go ahead and go down to 64, you call, Same
Verse
chapter.
64.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
Right. So look, and speaking about the prisoners of war, right? That's another way we got scattered. Another way we got scattered was when when Christopher Columbus and them came to the islands, they took a lot of us, 50 to be exact. They took 50 of us from the island of Boricua to Spain. That's how we scattered. Then we were scattered from Jerusalem to Africa. We are the southern tribe, right? They were scattered there. Then they got picked up there, and they didn't catch all of them. They were scattered there, and then they came to all the Americas. You know what I'm saying? So we're scared. Like, this is real. You know what I mean? This is real. Like, we're scattered. We're everywhere. And this how I know when Yahushua, when Christ, when he returns, that we are going to rule not just that area of the Middle East. It's not just that. It's not inclusive to that. Like, we're ruling the whole planet. Right. You know what I mean? Because we're going to have ambassadors, we're going to have prophets, we're going to have not kings. It's like we're going to have powers. The king is the king. Right. We already know what the king is. But we're going to have rulers. That's what I meant. Rulers and judges all over this planet because we're there already. You know what I mean? We're scattered all over, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto another. We got this covered. We're planted there. We're just waiting. We're just waiting. Go ahead.
Scatter thee among all people from the from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there shalt serve other gods, which neither thy father have known, even wood and stone.
All right. And that's kind of self-explanatory, but I'll explain it a little bit. Of course, we worship other gods that is not the Most High. We worship a lot of us, and I noticed till recently, but a lot of our tribes, the northern tribe, we worship Allah. That's something new to me. I thought that was more of a Judite thing, but we there too. I don't understand why, but definitely the wood and stone. You know, the wood being the cross, Christianity, and you know the stone, that big rock in Mecca. You know, they walk around and kiss it with their filthy lips, and they kiss right after. It's disgusting. We're worshiping other gods. What's good? You had your hand raised? All right. What's up?
Like some white people throw our babies like when they just get born, they just steal our babies, and then like sometimes they feed them to alligators or torture them. All right, you guys, you don't do that because we're Israelite.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, you're very right. Well, we're not like them. We should never be like them. Even Christ gave us that example when that was she a Grecian? The one.
Yes, she was a Syrophoenician by nation, so she was Greek.
Okay, so this Grecian woman, right? She wanted her daughter. Go ahead.
She wanted her daughter because her daughter was vexed with a demon,
Right?
And she wanted her daughter healed,
right?
And so, like, if I may,
no, go ahead. You got
and she was after Christ and the disciples, right? And so I'm just giving a brief synopsis of the story. And Christ's disciples told Christ, send her away because she followed, like she's following us. She wants, you know what I mean? She's like begging us. And then he turned to her and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Right.
So in other words, Christ said that he's not sent for other people, just Israelites.
Right. That's what Christ said, right?
Right.
He said, I'm not sent but unto Hispanics, blacks, and Native Americans. That's what he said. But then what happened?
Well, let's pull it up.
Go ahead, Matt. But yeah, so this woman that was not our people, she was she was following the disciples in Christ, and she wanted help from him. And Christ was like, hold up. I'm here for my people. I'm here for Hispanics, blacks, and Native Americans, right? That's what he said initially to this woman, right? And then what?
Okay, so like I got the account here in Matthew.
Go ahead.
So Matthew 15:22. And behold, a woman of Canaan, which is another verse in the account, it says a Syrophoenician woman, but it's the same account. Came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil.
She got a demon, heavy demon on her.
Verse 23. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. Verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
You understand that, right? You understand that, right? Go ahead. He was saying,
right.
He's very particular about like what his work is about. Just like we are here in the UPK, we're very particular about who trying to help out. But by no means does that mean what proceeds. Go ahead.
Verse 25. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. Verse 26. But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs.
So the bread is for us. His law, statutes, and commandments is for us. So by like he's saying, like, don't, like, it's not proper. It's not likely for us to do this to people that are not Hispanic, Black, Native Americans. But Christ being Christ. Go ahead.
Verse 27. And she said, trust, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from the master's table.
The crumbs.
Right.
So the rest, you know what I'm saying? The good stuff for us. But there's no need to be, I would say, like, sin misericordia. Like, how we say that? Like, not without, like lack of mercy, I guess.
Right.
Huh? That too. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm going to verse 28. Then Yahushua answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. But I want to bring up a point here.
Go ahead.
Her faith was, she knew her place. Because the previous verse, she said, correct, Lord, but I'm quoting. Oh, let me go back to it. Salakia. And she said, trust, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from the master's table.
All right. So she knew exactly who she was. She knew exactly who they were, and we are.
Right.
But she knew that, of course, that's your meat. That's for you to eat. That's for you to consume. But she like, get a crumb. You know what I mean? Like, let me get a piece of this, a little bit.
Right.
You know, not the whole T-bone steak. You know, let me get the burnt part of it.
It's like if I bake Christ through her bone.
Right. Exactly. I didn't want to say it. You said it.
It's like, be it unto thee, even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. She like, if I may, she knew her place and she knew her position. So that's why Christ said, great is thy faith. And that's why he healed her daughter.
Yeah. So going back to your point, little brother, that's like, we cannot be like them. You know what I mean? Right. We have to, you know, like Officer Gabar was telling me the other day, you know, like we have a king, we have a God, we have someone to look up to and be that are example. The other nations, they don't have that. Right. Because they have false gods. They don't have, like, their gods don't exist. You know what I mean? That's why they do what they do. That's why they're wicked and you know, that's why they commit the atrocities that they commit on this planet against our people. But we cannot be like them. Well, let's go back to let's finish it off with two scriptures, all right? Give me Deuteronomy 28 and 68, and then you already know Zephaniah 21. Go ahead.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 68. Oh, let me get there real quick. And the Lord shall bring thee unto Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again.
By ships again into Egypt. You don't necessarily have to go through ships to go back into Egypt or to Africa. You can cross the desert, you can cross lands. You don't have to go through a body of water. But he definitely did bring us back. He took us back to Egypt, to the land of bondage, by ships, via the transatlantic the transatlantic slave trade. That was by ships. We were going back and forth, from North America to Africa, from Europe to South America, Central America, Caribbean, you name it, even Asia. We were going there via ships to the house of bondage. Go ahead.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there
that land, we ain't gonna see it no more. That promised land, we ain't gonna see it no more after that.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen.
What that sound like? Slavery, right? You're getting sold to a people that is not your people for bondsmen and bondwomen. That means slave. Slave man and slave woman. You mean? Go ahead.
And no man shall buy you.
No man shall buy you. That means nobody's gonna save you. Nobody's gonna deliver you. Many tried. Cesar Chavez tried. Fidel tried. Martin Luther King tried. Malcolm X tried. Fred Hampton tried. The list goes on and on and on. Marcus Garvey tried. He had a whole fleet of boats waiting before America. And it was like, hell no, y'all ain't going nowhere. Y'all need to stay here. Without y'all, this country cannot progress. So they stopped that. You know what I mean? So nobody's going to deliver us. There's only one that can deliver us. And that is, that's correct. And Christ got to come first. Christ got to come over here. And, you know, you were talking about that Third World War earlier. Yeah, he's going to finish that. He's going to buy us. He's going to deliver us. All right. All right, let me get that last one.
This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 1. Gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
Gather yourselves together. Gather yourselves together, O nation not desired. Hispanics, Black, Native Americans, gather yourselves together. Because when we gather together, that's when we do miraculous things like Cinco de Mayo. Outnumbered, outgunned. You know what I'm saying? We defeated a way more fierce enemy of a fierce continent. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Okay.
right. And so, like, if I may, sir.
Go ahead.
Like in the Battle of Puebla, it wasn't just us Israelites. No. There were some Judites there too.
Right.
They were helping us.
Yeah. The escaped slaves.
The escaped slaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we come together, man, imagine just coming together under this body, like in all righteousness. How unstoppable we'll be. You know what I mean? They already fear us on the streets. And we out there doing ungodly things. Imagine we're doing godly things together. You know what I'm saying? Attending these feast days, attending class, bringing our scriptures, studying. You know what I mean? The man being the man of the house, the woman being knowing her place, the children being obedient and well behaved. You know what I mean? Like, imagine if we like that's called progress. That's power. You know what I mean? Right. And if we come together, there's always powers in numbers, but you don't need that many numbers. The Mexicans proved it. It's 2,000 against 6,000. That's a huge margin. Right. But their spirit, their resilience kept them going, and they were able to defeat the stronger force. You know what I mean? We come together, gather together, our nation I desire. And with that, I'll get the class over to Officer and Priest Yakal Yahala, the security announcement.
This is the Isupk security announcements. We're the Isupk started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find this in the book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 21, and the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. Ma'ashra, which means 10th in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. Feast of First Fruits starts after the Sabbath of unleavened bread, sundown, Sunday, April 20th, 2025. Count 50 days. Celebrate the 50th day. Sunday, June 8th, 2025. Start before sundown. You can find this in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verses 10 through 22. Remember to check the bulletin board for any further information on high holy days or any information about the school. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black: boots, shirt, pant, headband, scarf. This concludes the Isupk security announcements.
Can you do it in English? And with that, Imagine, can we stand?
The other,
I don't know. I'll give it to you. Okay. We're gonna start, turn to the east, say the Lord's Prayer in the Lashman Kadash. Abanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Quadash, Haya, Shemka, Yahweh, Malachka, Taba'a, Ratazaka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Kawa, Haya, Bashemayim, Nathanawa, Lakan, Ka, Yawam, Wasalakinawa, Kabawatinawa, Kasalakinawa, Kabawatinawa, Wala'a, Taba'ayanawa, Banasayanawa, Abba, Hawashayanawa, Mayan, Rai, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwa, Wahala, Wahatapara, Laiwalamyam, Aman.
What we said in English was, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. So be it.
Men of Israel. Men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat, Imagine, Barak, Yahweh Shem Yashab Barakatah, Rajimata. You want to turn, face the sisters with courtesy salute. Like you said, sisters. Men of Israel, Imagine Shabbat, Imagine, Barak, Yahweh Shem Yashab. Rajimata, dismissed. What?